Hi, good morning Year 4. This is a video for your maths lesson for my maths group for Monday the 11th of January. I'm just going to quickly show you something that you're going to need for your maths lesson today. You're going to need a piece of A4 paper and a pair of scissors. You're going to first of all start by making yourself some squares. First thing you need to do is make this rectangular piece of paper into one large square. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to fold this corner across to make a triangle. You really must try and fold it really accurately, children, corner to corner, getting a really good fold. So it's like that. We're not making paper planes, unfortunately. You've got this bit here, you now need to fold that over so that you're just left with this triangle, and I'm going to cut this little bit off at the end. You don't need that piece that you've cut off, and then when you open that up you should have a large square, and that's really important. When you've got this large square, you're going to make some small squares by folding it in half, again really corner to corner. Then you're going to fold it over again, and then you're going to fold it over again, keeping it corner to corner when you fold, making sure it's really good. And once more until you've got like a little square in front of you. Like so. When you've got this, you're nearly there. You open up the piece of paper and then you're going to cut all the squares that you've made, all the small squares that you've made, you're going to cut them out. Now when you cut them out carefully, because you are going to need them to be really straight sides. I know some of you children sometimes have a bit of dodgy cutting going on, so make sure you cut them really well. Now here's my blue Peter. Here's some I prepared earlier, so I've got quite a few squares here I'm going to use when we do our maths lesson in a couple of moments. Okay, do that now then please, well done. Okay, so I'm hoping you used your scissors and your paper to make some small squares, because you're going to need that for today's lesson. What are we learning about today? There's our date and our Roman date at the top. We're going to find area by counting squares. Some of you might have guessed that. Okay, so let's have a think. Here's our in focus task this morning. You need to use 4 of the squares, and you're going to try and make as many different figures as you can. You do not need to use all 4 tiles. You could use 3, you could use 2. Remember, a figure is a shape in front of you. So I would like you to pause the video and try and make as many different figures as you can using just 4 of the tiles. Okay. So I'm hoping you've done that, and you're hoping you've come up with some of these answers. And remember, I'll just look at mine on the front here. If I had this shape with my 4 tiles, okay, it is the same figure if I turn it round like that to make that shape. It's still the same figure, I've just turned it round, so you can't count that as twice. Okay, so there we go. I'm hoping you've made these here. Each figure covers the same amount of surface area. It has 4 squares in each shape, in each figure. And when we're calculating area, we calculate by using squares, and that's what you're going to do today. Okay, so your first task, you are going to use 5 square tiles, and you're going to make a figure using 5 of them. Then you're going to see if you can make as many figures as you can, but they're all going to be different, but they've all got to have the same area. They've all got to have 5 square tiles. Now, there are 12 different ones you can find. It's quite tricky to get all 12, so we'll see who can manage that. When you've found as many as you can. I want you to try and record them. You could draw them on squared paper. I've loaded some squared paper on Teams, or you could just put the squares, the figures in front of you, like I've been doing here. Like I've made one there that's a figure with 5 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I could just have them in front of me and photograph them and upload them. When you're doing this, be careful, because each shape must sit next to each other. You couldn't do a shape like that, children. That wouldn't count. You must have one of these edges against another edge for it to count. You wouldn't be allowed to have a shape looking like this, for example, where you had like just corners touching. Okay, so just be careful that you make sure you have them side, an edge to an edge. That wouldn't be correct. Okay, so that's your task 1 this morning. Your task 2, just to recap a little bit on some of the things as well with area. So when we're measuring area, it is in squares. Sometimes those squares could be centimetre squares, sometimes it could be metre squares, and sometimes it could even be kilometre squares. And we've come across this before when we've been doing our multiplication. We've done things like 10 squared and written it with that little 2 at the top, and that means square. So we write 10 centimetres squared, 10 metres squared, or 10 kilometres squared, and that's how we were going to be writing it over the next few days with our area work. Your task 2 is on Teams, and it looks like this, where you have to draw another figure with the same area. Now, one at the bottom is a little trickier. Now, I don't think those 2 tasks are challenging enough this morning, and I think I'm going to give you a little challenge to finish off. I'll read it with you and then leave it with you to have a little think and a go. It says, Farmer Greg and Farmer Brian are measuring their fields in square metres. Whose field is larger? That's the first bit. And the bit at the bottom, what is the area of the playground in square metres? Each square is worth 1 metre square. It's an unusual looking playground. See if you can have a go at those, that challenge and the other things I've been talking about this morning. I hope that makes sense, boys and girls. And have fun with your squares. You might need to cut out more than just one sheet if you're going to make lots of different figures, but I'll leave you with how you do that at home. Okay, thanks boys and girls, bye.